Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge live edition. I'm just realizing what we did with our ats. I'm Anthony Irwin, as always, joined by Harrison Fagan, or I guess I am Harrison Fagan, joined this time by Anthony Irwin. I think that's how this works on Elon
I paid
Musk's
$8.
YouTube.
You have to call me by my new legal name.
I mean, you have to call me by your legal name. So
Yeah.
this won't get confusing at all.
Surely not.
There's no way any of this could possibly backfire. Nothing has ever gone wrong in Elon Musk's
After thinking about it for 30 seconds, I cannot see a way that it goes badly.
I think that's the extent of the thought process that has gone into his purchasing Twitter. All right, so we woke up this morning and I dropped into the post Slack on Silver Screen and Roll because I'm the hardest working one of the bunch. It has nothing to do with me being up 2 hours ahead of everybody because of where I live. But I saw a tweet come across my timeline. Bill Simmons says that there's buzz growing around Anthony Davis's availability. And there's a clip and there's all these things. But long story short, he thinks that there's some whispers going around that Anthony Davis could be made available this season, given the direction that the season is going here for the Lakers. We want to talk about that. We want to talk about his usage, Anthony Davis's, not Bill Simmons' usage, but Anthony Davis's usage in the second half of these Lakers games of late. The Lakers are going to be playing the Utah Jazz here in about 5 hours or so. In Utah, as both teams are in the second night of a back-to-back. So this will offer a quick little preview there before what I think will be the Lakers' 8th loss this season. But yeah, this Lakers this availability buzz that Bill Simmons is hearing, I'm going to be honest, I heard some of that stuff back when Kevin Durant was potentially available over the offseason. But it was mostly like from a league-wide perspective of like, what trade kind of makes some sense here, and then it was just a lot of wondering, hey, why wouldn't the Lakers do this? And then we all just arrived at the same conclusion: they wouldn't do it because Clutch wouldn't want Anthony Davis traded to Brooklyn, I don't think. But anyway, we're hearing it again. Kevin Durant, I think it's not beyond. It's not inconceivable that Kevin Durant might be available again later this year because of how things are playing out in Brooklyn, where Kyrie Irving, there's some talk. I know Mark Stein wrote in his Substack that Kyrie Irving could potentially, or the Nets essentially gave him that checklist of things to do to prove he isn't anti-Semitic. And they did that in part because they knew he wasn't going to do it, and they can use that as grounds to waive him. That was one thing that Stein is reporting. They were getting ready to hire Ime Udoka, and apparently also, according to Stein, they've been told by some loud voices or powerful voices not to. So yeah, things are going great in Brooklyn. It might make one wonder if KD might be available again later this year, and if he is, how the Lakers would handle that situation. That's the only situation where I think it's plausible that AD would potentially be moved. But aside from that, Harrison, you wrote about it for Silver Screen and Roll, and you looked at it from a perspective of like, what the hell are we doing here? Has your stance changed at all given the information and the context that I provided?
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, you continuing to claim yourself as some sort of like reputable insider is hilarious. Especially when you have you lied twice during that preamble. Number one, you said that you woke up so early and you threw this thing in the Slack. It was Nicole. You took credit.
No,
for
I didn't.
No, yes, you did.
You got to find that.
No, I will.
I will
share this screen grab of the post channel and Nicole sharing that link before you did. And then number two, Jacob.
Nope. I got it. 7:45. Me, Anthony Davis might be available to trade per Bill Simmons. That is in the post.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, Nicole found the actual clip though. So
okay. So Jacob wrote it up. I'm going to be honest. I didn't read it. So
No, you not knowing who wrote it, I never would have guessed.
It had a headline that sounded very much like your voice, so I just kind of took for granted
Jacob and
that
I
you
have worked
wrote it.
together for quite some time, so that's fair enough.
Yeah.
As
Just
far
a
as like,
couple bearded, balding white guys writing about the Lakers.
yeah, the AD KD like trade stuff. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
I think like the Lakers, Simmons even on that pod speculated about the Lakers kind of waiting this out, for potentially Kevin Durant next summer. The Lakers, they can attach theoretically 3 first-round picks this summer, dependent like
on
to
draft night.
a theoretical AD or Russ or I guess not Russ because he's an expiring, but to AD or to anyone that they wanted to send out if they were looking to make major upgrades. And so yeah, I mean, this is the type of thing where whether it's KD or whether they're even considering trading AD at all, to me this is not like an in-season trade. Like I think that this is something that you do after the season. I'm just not sure that I have seen a theoretical fake trade, despite your best efforts to inundate us all with them, that makes sense. That makes sense for both teams, or that just makes sense, like in general, as why would they do this now? Like the Lakers, if they're going to do this, and you're saying like, okay, like they're going to trade Anthony Davis, then I guess they're going Phil Teardown in that case, but they also don't have their own draft pick this year. So I'm not really sure that I see the motivation there to get it done unless they're getting like substantial draft capital back in return that, this team that they're trading AD to, maybe wouldn't be willing to give up this summer because they want to use him this year. So he'd be worth less with less years on his deal. Like, I don't know. I mean, to me, all of it, I believe Bill Simmons when he says that there is buzz around the league that about this topic. Like, why wouldn't the Lakers do this? But when you think about it for, a few minutes, I'm not sure that I just don't see any way that it makes sense for the Lakers. I don't know. Am I wrong? Like,
yeah, I mean, so I listened to the clip and walked away at first mostly like this.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
On your soul.
That's normally my response to your points.
I mean, I can't tell you.
Especially.
That's basically been the general slack for much of today. People have taken issue with one of my AD takes. But yeah, so at first that was my first reaction. Then I thought more about the KD thing, and that's honestly, again, the only way I think trading AD makes any sense, right? Is for both teams to basically hit a reset. Get KD and all of his baggage away from there. Get AD to a larger market that Clutch would kind of okay, and allow LeBron and KD kind of like one more shot in both of their careers at this stage of where they're at, physically. Although KD has looked significantly better, obviously, so far than
and
LeBron
reunite
has.
KD and Russ, obviously.
Oh,
the ultimate run it back.
Well, they couldn't do that. They would have to. Well, no, I guess that's true. Yeah. Could you imagine Russ, KD, and LeBron?
Yeah.
Honestly, this season's so freaking weird. The Jazz are winning games that I don't even know what to consider. Like, could you imagine? But so the KD was the only return there that made any kind of sense for both teams because, like you said, the Lakers don't have their pick. Like there's no point in bottoming out. If you bottom out and that just gets you closer to Victor Wembanyama for New Orleans.
Yeah.
So like the only scenario,
and if for the indignity alone, like the Lakers don't want to do that. To have that, like the AD trade look that much worse, like on their ledger.
Right. I mean, like, so right now, basically with
if
the
there's
Lakers,
one thing that we can count on Rob Pelinka to do, absolutely above all else, it's to try and make his resume look not as bad.
Yeah, I mean that's been like the back half of his Lakers tenure. the entirety of it, not any other priority. But yeah, AD, I guess technically what the Lakers could do is trade AD to New Orleans, and as as part of that trade, get them to just like ignore the pick swap, right? Like they send AD there, and then that protection on the pick goes away, but you still have to send, salary back to the Lakers. And look, if the Lakers were looking to bottom out, maybe there you just get back like Valanciunas maybe and Nance, but I just don't see the Lakers pulling the plug on this season in that way, especially if all they would be getting at that point is a chance at Victor Wembanyama. And then also there, like if you're New Orleans, why would you do that? Like I would hold on to this lottery ticket until it doesn't hit.
Yeah. And there's the human factor of it as well, of like, Jeannie Buss fired her brother for, damaging the brand. Like she has
For
talked
tanking
extensively about this and tanking, and that's not something the Lakers do. That's not her vision. That wasn't her dad's vision. Like I just cannot, for a variety of reasons, see them making a deal like that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an interesting thing to talk about. Like, I understand why everyone is kind of getting their like AD trade takes off today. Like, maybe there are ones out there that make more sense than I'm giving them credit for, or maybe there are just ones that I haven't seen yet or haven't thought about yet. But to me, I'm just not sure that I see a scenario where like it's got to be the right team that wants to trade for AD. Like, I've seen some people like bring up Dallas or something as like a theoretical, like, okay, they need a second star, so like would they be able to give something up? But like I don't know that they have that many.
They don't
picks.
have anything.
Like, yeah, and like for
but
the
Lakers don't
what are
need
you
picks
getting
right
back
now.
then?
Yeah, like the picks don't do anything for the worst case scenario.
Well,
to
if they're
season,
fully
right?
if they're fully blowing it up and they're doing like the Nets thing of like, oh, we're just trying to replenish our asset stuff. Like those outgoing picks are gone. We're just gonna make deals.
But you do that
get
at
us
the end
more
of the
picks
season
for the
though.
future, huh?
I think you do that after this season. I don't think you do that during
maybe.
the season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't see the argument for doing it at midseason either. When, this team, for all the kind of, gleeful, like this team sucks, they're really bad, like all the like Lakers kind of all the various, Lakers funeral podcasts essentially that have been done, national places the last couple of weeks. Like this team's been really good defensively. They're still theoretically,
And
a
why.
chance to salvage something usable out of this year. Like I don't think that they're necessarily a contender by any means with, any of these trades or anything, but like they could be respectable again. And I still think that if they're going to make a trade, the odds are better that it's that kind of trade than that it's a, we're just going to tear this down just because that way, I guess we're bad on purpose instead of bad on accident. Like I'm just not sure that like I see the, they're already, if they want to lose, they're already doing that, like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so the worst case scenario to the season, right, is that they're this kind of bad all year and then lose Wemby, right? Like they're this kind of bad and then lose Wemby
even,
to the
a
Pelicans.
top 5 pick,
right?
Like this is supposed to be
like
really
last
good
year
draft.
sucked too. Yeah. I guess technically like it could be Scoot. Yeah, I just all of this
Scoot, I think there's like these twins that are playing in Australia, if I'm remembering correctly, that are supposed to be really good. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know Aaron really likes Amen, but yeah, I just think it's the kind of thing that you say if you're a Celtics fan and you know that what you say about the Lakers is going to get aggregated, right? Like this is a part of what's kind of driven me insane about today is that like somebody like Simmons can say this and know that it's going to set kind of the conversation for the entirety of that day. And it all feels very disingenuous, right? Like, yeah, I'm sure there are people talking about this in the league, and he did phrase it as safely as he could that would still get
he just
aggregated.
Said buzz. Like, I believe that the league is buzzing about this. Like, I don't think that it's anything the Lakers are seriously considering.
Right. Well, and like, it'd be weird if even if the Lakers were 4-5 right now or whatever it is, right? They've played 9 games, they're 2-7. If they were 4-5 or 5-4 and they were just kind of like trudging through mediocrity. I'm now talking to Bill Simmons. How about that, Bill? So what was going through your mind, Bill, when you gave this take? What was, was it just because you knew you were going to get aggregated, or
No, Anthony, I came on here. I'm not even going to try and do the voice.
yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I came on here just to recant my previous take. I reported that there was buzz. I'm now hearing buzz in the league that the league is not talking about this. So
that's incredible. That's great to know. And obviously, there is no questioning that retort of your own reporting from this morning. It's honestly, you know what? Thank you, Bill Simmons, for coming on this podcast and
I'm actually
clearing
hearing
that air.
I'm hearing buzzing in league circles that the Celtics are ready to kind of reapproach the Nets about a Jaylen Brown for KD trade. The Celtics are they're really interested in making this KD thing happen. They just think he's a way better player than Jaylen Brown. That's the buzz in league circles.
I mean, I in league circles, I'm also hearing that Brogdon is a little upset that Marcus Smart is seen as like that team's face of the defense and their starting point guard and all those things. League sources are telling me, the streets are telling me that this guy he wants to start, and why is it? His name is Marcus Smart, not Marcus Start. From what I've heard.
There's a lot of strong buzz in league circles that the Celtics have won as many championships, in the last 30 years as the Toronto Raptors.
I think fewer than the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? Do I have that right?
No, I think it's exactly the same.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
The one each. Yeah.
Cleveland only won one?
LeBron only won one in Cleveland.
Oh, underachiever, honestly.
Sorry.
Per league sources.
Well, only in LA too. He can't repeat. It's
competing executives are saying that he didn't do enough in Cleveland.
Everyone listening on audio is going to have no idea why that just happened in the middle of the show.
I mean, no, fine. But so, all right, last thing before we move on to it's like the actual basketball aspect of AD's season so far, because I find it really interesting. But do you foresee a situation here where, like, I think heading into the season, everybody believed, hey, let's just try to get healthy. Let's just try to make this work. Let's give it one more go, and we'll see how everything looks. LeBron is already nursing a foot thing. Anthony Davis is already nursing a back thing. I brought this up on last night's lowdown, and I saw Donnie write it for Lakers Outsiders as well. But like, and Jovan first mentioned it on my show earlier this week or last week.
As first reported by Anthony, citing Jovan's reporting on his show.
Exactly. That's how this works, right?
Yeah.
So but do you think, like, the Lakers have to be surprised by how poorly this has gone already, right? And if they are, and it continues this way, do you see a scenario here where they all kind of say, like, okay, this is definitely it. We can't keep doing this. Because it's not like LeBron is getting younger, and it's not like AD is getting younger. And the things that they're nursing right now happened without a play that we can, like, think of where they both tweaked whatever. They just, like, woke up one day. AD had a back thing that held him out of a preseason game. LeBron woke up one day and had a foot thing all of a sudden. And, like, that scares me a lot more than AD's injuries last year. So do you see, like, is this raise enough cause for concern for you that, like, this plan that they're on here might have reached its end before they saw it coming?
Well, I mean, I think it's fair to say that at 2-7 right now, there is a possibility that this plan has reached its end. Like, that's not. I don't know that I'm ready to completely write this team off from sort of the preseason expectations that we had for them, which was like, playoff-ish team, play-in potential team, like that kind of thing. I think, they have some room for improvement and, some areas for upward regression. But, I think to kind of your question about if the Lakers are surprised by this, I'm sure they are. Like I think that they, wanted this to go a lot better than it did, and sort of almost talked themselves into, the idea, all these different ways that it could go better than most prognosticators were imagining.
Yeah, I think the two things that they really underestimated here was the lack of shooting, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And I look, everybody underestimated. Nobody saw this coming. Like, even I had questions about the shooting, and even I'm like, holy crap, this is awful. And like, the thing about shooting is, unlike almost any other trait in basketball or ability in basketball, it has a ripple effect across everything. Where if your role players aren't hitting anything, life becomes harder on your stars. If your stars aren't hitting on anything, as we've seen here with LeBron, then defenses can just pin their ears back and really get up in you and really create some problems. And I think so far this year, the poor shooting that they've had is something that they really, I for some reason, don't think they truly accounted for properly. And then the other thing too, that I don't think they were at all prepared for Anthony Davis to look at last offseason or last season, and instead of like focusing on getting better from 3-point range, just like not shoot 3-pointers. Like I think it really threw a wrench into any plans that the Lakers had offensively this year. That AD's response to how poorly he shot last year, where he shot 19% from 3-point range, his response to that was, "Oh, I'm just never going to shoot 3-pointers ever again." And like, that is hard to plan for when the one thing that the Lakers had going for him was this unicorn of a center who could theoretically step out and punish teams and offer some space for LeBron in ways that the other shooters that the Lakers don't. So I think, like, those are the two things that I think really have thrown the Lakers for a loop here. It's like LeBron looking bad early in the season as he's 38 years old, like, kind of sort of
dealing
could kind
with
of play
cold
for
and
that.
like a like a stomach flu thing and a foot injury,
But also, like, if I would have
think-
just told you, hey, this 38-year-old athlete is slowing down, that shouldn't be a story. That wouldn't be a news story. That would just be, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's wild that anybody ever thought, and I know I understand why, but like, LeBron made these him versus Father Time commercials for a reason, because like everybody knows that like that Father Time comes for all. And this notion that like him looking bad in his year 38 season, and I'm not saying that this is who he's going to be for the rest of the season, obviously, but like him looking bad in his age 38 season shouldn't be a news story. He's 38. That's how these things go.
Yeah, and to the point that you're making about AD's, those commercials really have been ill-timed. For like, it is. Especially every time they show the one where it's Father Time winning a contest, it's like, oh no,
yeah, right,
bad omen. I don't know if I would have recorded these ones.
Yeah, Jason Momoa is like,
think,
hey, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Let me get you a win.
Do you think that they have do you think the advertisers have like a clause that they can switch to the LeBron losing one more often? Like, if he's not playing well, like they can use the Father Time. Are they not allowed to do that? I think your AD shooting point is, I know that you've been arguing about this all day, and you've went from AD should never shoot a 3-pointer to like, now that he's not doing them, like you want him to take more, I guess. And like, he should only play center. He should play like a center. Now that he's playing like a center and he's playing like 100% of his minutes at center, you're pissed that he's playing like a center. I think AD, his unicorn skill set, it is like, he's so versatile that you almost expect him to just be able to do everything. I'm using the royal you, as all of us almost expect him to be able to do everything. And so, if he is like, if he's not stepping out and shooting threes, or he's not hitting his threes, or, he has these imperfections in his game, it's like, well, I've seen you do, this before. I've seen you kind of, play out of the post or take guys off the dribble or be able to guard 1 through 5 or, be able to like take threes. That whenever any of those one things is not kind of working, we judge him fairly harshly, especially because I think of the real history and also the narrative of the injury stuff that he's dealt with, and sometimes, not wanting to make himself like his presence felt. I don't really, I'm finding it hard just watching these games to criticize him for not taking more threes because of sort of like, he's been taking the ball inside like you sort of want him to do at times, like and then the disappearing thing has been, I think, more of a product of in second halves they're kind of stationing him out there. Like I don't think that he's like not shooting threes. Like I just don't know that he's necessarily getting the ball a whole lot in positions where he's going to be, where like he has 3-point opportunities. Like a lot of the time those kickouts are just going to other guys that are better shooters because the defense isn't really guarding him and his teammates aren't necessarily like, hey, this is one of our knockdown snipers, let's get him the ball. And I think some of that is on him for not sort of taking the initiative and taking himself inside and like trying to do damage as a screener. But I also think he's probably wearing down a little bit in these second halves from how hard he's having to play in the first to make up for stuff defensively.
Yeah, I
and like nobody wants to hear that. I'm not saying that that's like an excuse.
Kind of,
like everybody wants AD to be in perfect condition and be able to hit the turbo button all the time, but I think there's a variety of factors in this stuff.
Well, it's kind of like whining about LeBron's defense when he's doing everything offensively, right? Like it does become unrealistic to have those guys be as good as they have to be on that side of the ball. And then also be capable on the other side of the ball to make up for, again, and I know this is me beating a dead horse, but this roster is such a disaster. Like they're asking so much of these guys to keep this boat above water, but like you remember those Flex Seal, remember that Flex Seal commercial? Where that guy would spray Flex Seal on the bottom of a boat?
No, not spray. It was the tape stuff.
Was it the tape?
He just like smack it on the water bottle on the giant water tank.
Well, but that's the tank. But there was one that he actually like put a boat in the water, and it was made in the bottom of the boat was made out of this Flex Steel stuff, and it's just like it's really smart of them to have him on the water for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
right. Because the longer that boat is on the water, the more likely that Flex Seal is to breaking, right? It's like Elon Musk saying that like his cars can actually be amphibious for a short while. I was like, sure, yeah. My Hyundai he did. It's like my Hyundai Palisade, it can actually fly for a little while.
I didn't realize.
Depending on how high I drive this thing off of a cliff.
Yeah, depending on what you consider flying.
Falling is flying until you land.
Falling is flying until you land. The Anthony Davis story.
Right. So, but like, this roster is so terrible, and it requires LeBron and AD to be so spectacular for the Lakers to be so mediocre that like eventually, they're going to break down, especially at this stage of both of those guys' careers. So yeah, absolutely fair to mention how AD is wearing down over the course of a game, but like shooting 4 times in 1 second half and then following that up.
He's disappeared in the second half. No argument for me there.
Right. No, but like that doesn't happen just by way of like him getting tired, Yeah. And the other thing too, like, so essentially the crux of the argument that I've been having with Jacob and Aaron, especially in Silver Screen and Roll Slack today, has been that like, I want him to take a couple, I guess I'll even say it, bad shots, right? Because I think him shooting a 3 or him shooting those step back fadeaway jumpers are bad shots. Statistically speaking, those are essentially wasted possessions because he's not a good shooter. But I would rather have him taking a couple of those and keeping him within the flow of a game. I would rather have that than what we've had these last two second halves, where he just kind of floats for the entirety of the half, and the Lakers offense just slowly and surely sticks into the mud. And you know, I just think there's point guards talk about this all the time with bigs who, like, you have to reward them for, especially you have to reward AD for the way that he plays defensively. You do have to, like, feed him an post ISO play just to keep him interested in on that side of the ball, because he's working his ass off on the other side. And it's like, you know, the argument is, well, he's a great offensive rebounder, so I'd rather have him off, you know, rebounding those misses that the Lakers are shooting up there. The problem with that, though, is that they're shooting 3-pointers that produce long rebounds, which are harder to predict. And B, if you're relying on offensive rebounds for AD, even if he's rebounding as well as he has so far this year, he's only grabbing 3 offensive boards a game. That's 6 points. Like that, and that's over the entirety of the game. That's not even the second half.
And that's if he scores on all of those, which are not always easy to score off of. Like, you know, sometimes you get an offensive rebound, but like it's by, you know, kind of getting the ball down in traffic, and you got to take a heavily contested shot over another center. Yeah, like
and so like I just think, while and Darvin Ham spoke after the last game that the Lakers have to do more to get him going and all of this stuff, but I don't know. What do you think of the premise that, like, I think, and look, I will cop to being somewhat wrong in the way that I wanted him to approach offense. Like, I got what I wanted, and I'm realizing, like, you know,
like if he's gonna take some bad shots, I'm not against him taking a couple bad shots, like you said, just to kind of like force defenses to guard him. I'm just not sure that threes are the answer there, because like we've just like gestures at the results of those threes. Like, I'm not sure that that's actually going to make another defense guard him. That's just going to make if anything, guard him less, and then he gets more in his own head. Like, I think he's going to, like, it, you know, maybe the solution is encourage him to take a couple of those like mid-range pull-ups that none of us really like, but at least it's kind of more of a rhythm shot for him. He kind of feels a little bit more like under control. He's gathering the ball, he's creating possession. You know, again, I'm also reticent to ask for like more AD post-ups. You know, it's just not a shot or part of his game that I love a whole lot. But trying to get him off the dribble, going to the basket a little bit more, you know, empowering him to kind of dribble in and take a couple of those, kind of like the Kevin Durant-esque, like, I'm just going to take 2 dribbles and then like shoot over you type of like shot. Again, I don't expect Kevin Durant results on those shots, but at least sort of just telling him, hey, no, we want this from you. We want you to dribble in and take a couple of these. You know, just to kind of force defenses to guard you and pay a little bit more attention, maybe.
Yeah, I just, so essentially right now.
But again, I'm also not as much of like on that. Like, I think this is more of a coaching issue of not necessarily like criticize Darvin. It's like a coaching and the guys on the floor issue. AD is not the type of guy. Like, I saw Darvin, you know, gave this quote last night where he was saying AD has the power to, you know, scream out, go get it, whatever. But like, he's a big guy, you know, there's only so much that those guys can create offense for themselves. Like, he is somewhat at, you know, the you know, the mercy of LeBron or Russ or whoever's, you know, handling the ball. Like, those guys have to make an effort to get him involved a little bit more. I'm not saying that they're intentionally going away from him or freezing him out or anything like that, but I think that the consistency of like, hey, this stuff is working when we're getting AD going to the rim out of the pick and roll, out of 2-man game, out of this stuff. Like, let's not stop and pop for jumpers. Let's not, you know, like, let's not just try and like drive yourself and free up threes. Let's get some more of this 2-man game going.
Yeah, I there are essentially 3 paths forward here for the Lakers, right? One is stick with the status quo and hope that it fixes itself. I don't think they can do that. 2 is to do whatever is possible to get AD more good looks, right, in the second half, which I think is obviously the path to look at first here.
The Lakers could use all the good looks they can get, you know?
Yeah.
People forget.
But like essentially, like this used to be a conversation with Kobe, right? That like Kobe would say that, what is considered a bad shot for him, he has put hours upon hours upon hours upon hours to shoot those bad shots. And he trusts that he put the work in to shoot that bad shot, and work that he didn't see necessarily his teammates putting in to deserve him passing the ball, right? I'm not saying that is a proper way to go about this, but like, to a certain extent, the Lakers right now have what, like three, maybe like I would probably say like four bona fide playoff ready NBA players right now, right? I think LeBron and AD are definitely there. Russ in this role off of the bench appears to be one of those guys, and I think Lonnie Walker
Probably a little
looks
less
like
so in
one.
the playoffs, but fair enough.
Yeah, well, but like in the playoffs, coming off of the bench, he'd be playing a smaller role, right?
Yeah.
Lonnie Walker, I think, also fits there as like an end of the rotation.
I've been very
Role
impressed
player.
so far. Yeah.
Uh-huh. After that, can you think of any other like bona fide playoff ready NBA players that the Lakers have? Because
Yeah.
So what I'm essentially
Maybe
saying is,
Austin.
I don't know, no, I
I'm
don't.
not
I
saying
don't,
I'm like confident that I think he should be a fifth starter in the playoffs or anything, but
Yeah.
I think he's probably the next closest guy to that level of you can count on him to give you something there.
Austin is still in that real sweet spot of like when he does something, everybody goes, "Oh my God, look at him go, look at him go!" But then like when he just kind of fades into the background and isn't very good, nobody really notices.
And Matt Ryan.
For sure, duh. but cameos Matt Ryan, right?
Yeah.
That's like you're a good gift giver because that was an all-time. And there's no way you thought it was going to work out as well as it has, to where he's going to stick on the Lakers roster and he's their best shooter right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping he'd get some garbage time run. I was not expecting them to be treating him
Rotation
like
minutes.
prime Kyle Korver, like
They're running him off screens. It's incredible. They had him take a game-saving shot the other night.
yeah, this team would potentially be 1-8 if it was not for a miracle heave from the corner from Matt Ryan while fading away.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I think like my point here is that like the Lakers have four definite NBA players on their roster, and one of those four NBA players can't get anywhere. Like he needs to get 10 shots per half. Like he needs to be up in that range. He hasn't sniffed 30 points so far this year. That's unheard of. He needs to be more involved in the offense. And what we've seen from him, and this is where I find it so fascinating, is because efficiency wise, like his efficiency numbers all look tremendous.
Yeah.
But I think here's where I think there's a slight difference between hugely efficient and as productive as he could possibly be. Because yeah, he's taking all of the shots and we've always wanted him to take, and none of the shots that we didn't want him to take, but it's made him kind of one-dimensional. Whereas I think if he takes a couple of and because now that he's one-dimensional,
basically like the greatest Damian Jones of all time,
Essentially, yeah. But like the thing with if he's essentially just limiting himself to shots 7 feet and in, then and not taking anything from anything further out than 7 feet, then the defense can just kind of ignore him. Okay, cool. And if the defense can ignore one of the Lakers' four actual NBA players, then yeah, the offense is really going to sputter. So
I agree with you, but I don't think that him taking shots that we know percentage-wise he's not going to make that many of is going to necessarily fix the way defenses guard him.
No, I don't think it'll change anything. But like if he, like again, I just go back to, I don't think the response to last year was, okay, AD is never shooting ever again, like from further than 7 feet out. The response to last year, and look, he deserves some criticism as he got when he said it on social media that he hadn't picked up a basketball. It's like, how do you shoot 19% from 3-point range and then go out on social media and say that you don't pick up a basketball, you hadn't picked up a basketball, and mean it? Like, that was the other part. It's like his response to the criticism was to take that stupid picture with Lethal Shooter. and the reason he did that was because he saw the criticism that he was getting for not shooting a basketball after shooting 19%. Huh? Yeah, he or somebody did. Yeah. And I think he deserves criticism, and I think he deserves a hefty pie of a hefty slice of the blame pie for the way that the Lakers have looked offensively so far this year. That one of the 4 actual NBA players that they have right now didn't put the work in necessary to get better offensively. And this is really hurting the way that they're trying to do things. What's up?
I give less blame to AD for that and more to just this roster not being optimized. Like, we wouldn't be talking about like AD needs to shoot more threes if there was any other semblance of shooting on the roster. You know, like I think on some level, it's almost galaxy braining ourselves into like finding a way to blame the stars for this when it's really, you know, the only way you could really blame the stars is if they advocated for the move that left them so, you know, like shallow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's AD when he was brought over was a unicorn, right? When the Lakers won a championship, it was because AD was a unicorn. It was because he shot as incredibly as he did. And now I think that was always going to be an outlier. It has proven to be an outlier, but I don't think it needed to be. I don't think anybody envisioned it getting this bad to where he shot so poorly last year that he is just not shooting this year. Nobody saw that coming. And it's like, you're right that this roster isn't doing anybody any favors and that Rob Pelinka has failed to the nth degree to surround.
Well, hold
LeBron
on. No.
AD.
Yeah, no, you're not allowed to say that yet. It's only, as of tonight, it'll only have been 9 games.
Oh,
okay.
Good point.
That you cannot judge the team until they're 20 games in. Okay. No matter what the record is before that 20 games.
Yeah. But like you're right in this roster making it so that LeBron and AD have to be spectacular on a night in, night out basis. Absolutely correct. But I think AD has done kind of a disservice to himself in his ability to be spectacular by not working on that jumper. And by going the direction of, fine, you want me to be hyper efficient? I just won't take any of the other shots. What made AD as incredible as he was at his peak was that he could take tougher shots and make them at a decent clip, right? That's what honestly separates all of the most special offensive NBA players that are out there, is their ability. Like Steph Curry, like those 37-foot 3-pointers off of the dribble aren't easy by any stretch. He's just great at them. Like for everybody else, that those threes that he's taking are terrible shots. He's just great at them. And like AD taking step back mid-range jumpers and at one point hitting them at like a 60% rate, it's not that those shots were any better shots in a vacuum. It's that he was a special player because of his ability to make those shots. And like the Lakers have always needed LeBron and AD to be the absolute best version of themselves to succeed. And I don't think the best version of AD is him just never shooting 3-pointers or never shooting those unblockable mid-range jumpers that are readily available in the postseason.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, you're probably right on that, you know, but I'm just not sure that we're ever getting that AD back. And that's just where it is. So I don't know. Maybe
Sucks.
Simmons was right.
So what was the trade I put together? I think I did.
Oh my God, that was an abomination. It's like Caruso, Vooch, and like 1 first-round pick.
Yeah, I probably should have put 2
Other teams had better
first-round
hope you're running the Lakers. Like, you know.
Well, I think I would have asked for 2. See, I wanted to ask for Lonzo. Like ideally, I would have Lonzo, Caruso, and Vucevic plus 2 first-rounders for AD. But I don't think the Lakers are interested in Lonzo, because of his injury concerns. We know that really affected, like because of the Kendrick Nunn experience last year, they were super trigger shy on anybody with any kind of questions about their health, right? Otto Porter Jr. was not really on their radar. TJ Warren for Brooklyn, not really on their radar. They wound up going with Lonnie Walker. He's worked out, to be fair.
And to be fair, that has looked like the right decision in retrospect.
Absolutely.
So far.
Absolutely. But like for those who were like, when I put together these AD trades, people are like, where's Lonzo? Where's Lonzo? It's like, I don't think the Lakers are falling over themselves to trade for Lonzo Ball. Given that injury.
And also, I don't know that. Do we know that he's going to play this year? Like for a fact?
Dude,
Given the way that people have talked about that injury, like
I think it was a few weeks ago. He's saying he still can't go upstairs.
yeah, I would not be trading for Lonzo
Yeah.
right now.
So
And that makes me
All
sad
right.
because I was a
It
big
does.
Lonzo optimist and believer, but
To
I would
me-
not be right now.
I still contend that like the version of Lonzo that we saw last year in New Orleans, or no, last year, especially in Chicago, but
Yeah.
the year prior in New Orleans, where he's shooting like 40% from 3-point range on volume. He's still big. He's still great defensively. Like that to me is the perfect modern point guard. That is the perfect modern point guard to play next to an elite wing.
LeBron.
And yeah, next to LeBron, next to KD, next to Kawhi. Like that is and it sucks that
Or
we aren't
DeMar DeRozan or Brandon Ingram.
either one. I mean, look,
Yeah.
both those teams look really good with him on the court.
Yeah.
It sucks that. I really hope Lonzo gets healthy. I
too.
really, really do. All right, that's going to do it here for this episode, this live edition of the Lakers Lounge. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. To me, Adrian Wojnarowski, and to my special guest today, Bill Simmons. This has been a lot of fun. No chance whatsoever that backfires on me for saying that without the context of what people are watching are able to see. If you've missed any of this and you want, so these live episodes that we record live, they just go onto our YouTube page at Silver Screen and Roll. So if you go onto YouTube and you search Silver Screen and Roll, these live shows, the pressure cookers, all of that stuff, that goes onto there. So if you want to watch this stuff and if you have the bandwidth to be able to do that, subscribe to the Silver Screen and Roll YouTube page. We'd appreciate that. But until next time, I'm Anthony Irwin. That is Harrison Fagan. This has been the Lakers Lounge. We'll talk to y'all next week.